All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our coffee talk on Friday morning, Newsflash Friday. This week we have Alan Russell joining us, and Alan is going to be talking about our new wood shop that he has championed and giving us a tour and a little background. So, Alan, if you'd like to give us a little background about yourself and give us a little information, that would be great. We'll start there.
Well, first of all, good morning. You all are a very special group. You're getting the pre-debut show of the new woodworking facility here. So you're a special group to us. I sat on that side of the fence for 2 years in a number of we did Tuesday mornings then. Well, my background is over a period of time been a businessman all my life. I was a CPA, involved in a telephone business, was president of the Illinois cereal mills in Paris, and also the hospital there around on a pro bono basis. Also involved with an educational foundation in Indianapolis. We did move here from Paris in December 29th of 2020. So we're still very much newbies here, although Rebecca and Kate and her group seem to have people coming in all the time. As residents, we know that because one of the elevators is blocked for moving. So we all know when somebody's coming in. We don't necessarily know who they are or where they came from. Well, Rebecca mentioned the word champion, and that gets in play because during our several visits to Westminster, Rebecca was our lead person, and we saw Kate occasionally. One of the issues that I raised was that when I retired, I wanted to have a place to do some woodworking. Rebecca said, well, don't know anything about that for here. But the second meeting, she mentioned to Kate, and Kate said, oh yes, Dan wants to put in a woodworking shop. Dan's the executive director at that time. So she introduced me, and so now you know the rest of the story because we got together, collaborated on it in June of 2020. He agreed to do it. And on June 25th, Christy and I executed the residency agreement. So it was with high expectations of coming that there would be a facility here. We did do our tire kicking and looked a lot of other places and decided this was the place we wanted to make our home. It's always interesting to me. I've had a range of wonderful experiences. And so one of my first woodworking pieces of equipment was a CNC from Sawstop Tools. And the gentleman who was a senior person there and ran it, I called him and said, Chris, what do we need to do in a retirement facility to make a successful woodworking shop? And he said, I've only seen a couple, Alan, and those where somebody stepped up and said, I have enough compassion for this that I'll take the lead. And he called him the champion. So I've taken on the role of the champion here, and maybe even some other words if you would talk to Wes Hopkins, the plant operations manager, and his staff who put this facility together. They did a wonderful job, but I'm sure the word pushy and some other things might have come along at that time. I'm compassionate too, probably, compassionate woodworker over the period of time. And just to show you some of our experiences, we're going to have a short slideshow that I'll narrate, and you will see I've been involved with installations in both the US and in Guatemala. So Rebecca, I'm going to turn the lights out and start the show.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
This is a young lady in Paris, which we moved from. You can see some ornamental work. That holds 3 kids. That went in on the top bunk. Did a little work for church. That's the first table I built. Took 5 men to move it. We built a lot of these little stools because they were good. That's a cherry blanket chest. It sits upstairs. A set of furniture. Music box with some inlay. There, that particular student did the stuff. Here's that bed.
Kitchen.
That was for my bride for Valentine's Day. Stools are a big deal. That's my shop in Paris. That's in our apartment. That was one of my very first items that I built. We do a lot of cutting boards of different types. That one says, my favorite breed is rescue. This is some of the pen work that you can do on a lathe here. These were done by my granddaughters in Guatemala, and I'll explain that later. They did a lot of this type of artwork. All of this can be done here in the workshop. That happens to be my daughter and youngest grandson. That's one of the guys I know that called the lodger, Frank Krause, who is now retired, but a very prominent member of the woodworking. Mario Rodriguez has a shop. I put these together and then they're hung in the Paris hospital. That one took 8 hours to carve. This is a long story, but Kara, and we won't have time for it. That table comes from, you can see I said the baby goes there.
Oh.
That's a music box that we make. Here is a grandson making a board for his grandmother. That hangs upstairs in our bathroom. That was a wedding present. It's a sofa table. Our local barber wanted a sign. This is a special design for fighting lymphedema. There is the head of the department in Paris. Another little jewelry box. Another one that's open. I did a lot of work with high school, with junior high kids. They made projects. This young lady, time went by, make all kinds of specials with the initials up above.
Mm-hmm.
Those are popular to put over sinks for serving. That was a table that went for auction at the rec center. An interesting idea that I can explain later. I did this for the Westminster Village a year ago. That's for carrying books and helping mom. Thomas Lee Nielsen, who owns the hand plane business, and there he is last year. I got called one morning to make a project for a ball game.
Mm-hmm.
We did that for a local business. That's the type of project that my middle school kids made. There's a lady making a bed. It's one of her sister-in-laws who's making a shelf. There's another view of that bed. The end of the bed for the 3 girls. That's just a picture of my shop in Paris. 7 people would work in there at a time. Very proud woodworker. It's for his daughter. That young lady made that table to go to college with. She's making Christmas ornaments. She's making a stool. By the way, those last 2 ladies were my assistants, a grandson of mine. She's making a piece for the bar. That's an interesting story. I'll tell you about her later. Those are her 3 grandsons. They finished that and we did it. A teacher, music teacher, art teacher actually, Here's a brother and sister, father and son making a table. Actually, those are two sisters, with the one on the right being my assistant. She is my assistant. She's a little dressed, but she's doing her bookends for her table. That's a wall plaque.
That's neat.
I held 4 classes in the summer for a week. They made a significant project. That's the oldest grandson making lacrosse sticks. That's the middle grandson making a pen. The red machine is an ornamental milling machine that gives rise to the machine I have in the other room there. Those are my granddaughters in Guatemala. They'd had pizza and they were watching a movie. Here you can see my junior high kids in my first workshop. Always have to clean up afterwards. That'll take place here, although we've got dust collection.
Wow. It's endless.
What's interesting is about the tall lady is her father taught shop for 40 years. No ladies allowed. And so she's done nothing but spend time in my shop building stuff and tutoring. 2 of her grandsons. Our IT people visited here the other day, both from Paris, and they were able to name all these boys as their prior classmates. The types of projects here are endless that you'd like to make. We're limited by some space, but not by the capacity or the tools or the ability. This was at the Crossroads, a non-denominational Christian academy in Bloomington, Illinois. This was a winter term. We donated that CNC machine there. They got the software before Christmas and then designed this and ran this the 10 days after Christmas. That's the shop bot. This is in Guatemala, and those were made by, 26 were made by 15-year-old orphans, females. These are some of their other projects, the puzzles that we made, a set of pencils. They knew I liked maple and they made those. That was the first group project down there. That's the last time there were males. This young lady is a real artist. That's the first table. We made that from the library. We did some wood work here. Here is a scroll saw. There are my granddaughters before going out to dinner one night. Intense young man. That's a set of their jewelry boxes they made. They made those and sold those. You can see they're working on another project. We did a number of things there. That was the first bookcase for the library that was established at that was made. I told them if they'd make a facility for it, I'd buy them a new TV. They made the facility and then I bought equipment that didn't fit, but we got that worked out. Those are done on the CNC machine. Those benches, there are 26 of those. I have that upstairs. That young lady is a good friend. I bought them a 5-pound box of chocolate in New York and they enjoyed that. Here they are continuing to work on that. They decided later to put a logo at the top. That hangs in my shop here. That was my birthday present in 2012. That was after one weekend that we had a show. We could build those here. These are 15-year-old girls running a wood miser machine, which happens to be made just in Avon, Indiana. It's their headquarters. But they were able to harvest down trees on 100 acres at the Hogar in South Guatemala City. We're almost at the end. They make tables out of that, make all kinds of furniture. And actually, that young lady and her sister are still running that facility as a business. Maybe we ought to get one of those and put it outside here. Not often did we have the boys working, but they were there. That's the end of slow, Rebecca.
Well, I love that, Alan. There's definitely, it just goes to show how many options and opportunities there are, you know, just all over, and especially in our wood shop, opportunities for the residents and team members to come up with new ideas. My next question for you is, what is the mission of the woodworking shop? Or what's your goals?
Well, the goal of this is this whole facility and all of the shops I put together, safety was a paramount part of its design. And we did that here also. The Sawstop Machine is a special machine, a saw that while it's not impossible to cut your finger, you have to be a real contortionist to do it. I've met the owner of this at woodworking shows, and I watched him one time not paying attention to what he was doing, and he was just talking. And instead of picking up the hot dog and putting it there, he used his finger. There wasn't any blood. So it works. I don't think he's probably ever done that again, probably scared himself out. So our mission here is to provide a safe environment for residents to learn or enhance their skills in creating woodworking projects. Now, certainly you could make projects, as you can see here, for your apartment. I will tell you, you saw all the pictures of the cutting boards. The kitchens aren't real large here by design, but I made this for my wife. It's just the right size for the counter. You can take and cut the different breads that you can buy at the village shop. It's a nice place to slice those, or the fruit that you get downstairs. It cleans up. And these are pretty simple to make. They have rubber feet at the bottom. You can make those out of any type grain wood, and we can talk about that. One of the things we hope to do is to, I think one of the current phrases now is pay it forward. And that is, in our assisted living and our health center, the residents have projects that they want to work on, and it's a never-ending chore to get those done. One of the things that we could do, and we're just now getting up and running, is I did these before Christmas. I don't know whether you can see those or not.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Here's another. Now these are easy enough for them to paint and hang on a tree. We can do the same things for Valentine's Day, for March 17th, the Irish. There's certainly flags for Memorial Day, any number of projects, and we have the ability on the CNC machine to use plywood type pieces and cut out many of them at the same time. That you'd be very difficult for a shop like this to cut out without that type of work. So we're hoping that that's part of it. It's kind of give back. You can make gifts for relatives, and as we do the shop tour, I'll show you some things. You saw on the video the pens. You can make handles for garden tools, for ice cream scoops. Just about anything you can think about are available. One of the things we're doing is making 20 Lazy Susans for the dining room downstairs. We have two different size tables. They're going to be made out of cherry. They're cut out. We haven't started operating here until we get the final say of the operating procedures and approved by the powers to be. It's just not appropriate to have people in here to assist. I'm not here to take orders and make things. I'm here to be a mentor that you come and you design what you'd like and we'll build it. In those cases where the machinery is such that being a novice, you wouldn't want to touch or we wouldn't want you to touch it, we'll do the work for that. I'm going to have, I hope, some other helpers, including maybe somebody who's watching today. They can join me in here to do this type of work. So there are all kinds of things like that. I will tell you, the current buzz is that we decided to make some charcuterie, and I finally learned how to say that word for the dining room downstairs and for special events. We had a dinner the other night that it would have been a perfect time for them to have used those as part of it. And we'll have other special events where they would be appropriate. So it's whatever your mind can dream of that we can do.
And Alan, before we take a tour and you show us the wood shop, one question I really would like to ask is, who is welcome to use the wood shop?
Like the other activities here, depending upon the nature of it, you may have to have an approval by someone with a medical background to say that you have the capability to be here. Now, I hope by now people have noticed I'm sitting in a electric cart, so it's not a matter of using a cart or any one of the other mobile devices here. It's really about whether you don't have mental lapses and those types of things. And so that is part of this approval process that we're working on. And as soon as we get that, then we'll be able to do it. But it is also available for team members. There is no entrance fee or charge for using it. There is for you buying your material. We're still working that out a little bit. But we've even had some, as I call, tire kickers here. Had one gentleman last week that Kate brought by who has a farm, who has 15 acres of hardwoods and is willing to harvest some of those, and we can get them cut and dried to provide a less expensive source of our wood. But many of these we can buy project wood out of a facility that's not far from here. And so it'll be buying your wood, and then we'll work out something for the other things like sandpaper and the rest of it. So, and then team members are going to be, I've already got team members who want to sneak in here at night and work, and we've said, no, can't do that yet. You may have a key, but you can't use it. So that's the type of people that I have had. I was not in this building more than about 3 weeks after I met the initial time in the room, where I had a lady, and I can't tell you her name, I will tell you, a little white-haired lady, but that's a description of 80% of the ladies in the hall that stopped me and said, can I make a little bookcase about that high? I said, sure, since we're up and running, we'll do that. I'm sorry, I don't remember who she is, because I'd make sure we go back. But I've had a number of residents who have stopped. This pandemic has caused a lot of problems, a lot of places. And as I said earlier, this was approved 20 months ago now. And so it's been a long time coming, but it had to be worked out within the confines of what we had to do. So the high expectations that I talked about with a lot of people at the front end have been delayed a little bit, but I do have a list of people who want to come. I'll be holding some little classes because we don't have room for a lot to do the cutting boards, make jewelry boxes, or anything else that we decide to do. And if we need multiple little sessions of it, we'll do that. We just don't have a lot of room for storing a lot. So I hope that answered your question, what you were after.
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. And it sounds like, it's open to men, women, team members. I mean, anybody. It's not, men only.
Well,
women are welcome to join just as much as men are.
Oh, certainly. Let me tell you, you noticed on those pictures that I showed, there were more women than there were men. Now, I will have to tell you, and my wife will tell you, if I'm going to work at something, I'd rather work with ladies than men. Not because the men are bad, but I just like working with the ladies. But anyway, in my shop in Paris, I had to give up the shop after a very serious illness. But half of my users of the shop were ladies who had never touched a screwdriver, almost. So they came not knowing anything. So my function here is to mentor, help design, enable people to make woodworking projects, either for themselves or gifts. The one thing that we will frown on, this is not a production facility for people to come in and make a lot of things to go out and sell. That doesn't mean, I suppose, that they can't make one or two and sell them to somebody, but in most cases, I would see them to be gifts outside or for use inside. We have things that we can make as I go around, and you'll see a little bit on the tour that will aid people here, like canes. We can make in the pictures on the slideshow, you saw the girls with a bunch of tables that look like a C. Those are used by a sofa. They're kind of like the old TV trays that we had in the 50s and 60s, before televisions. We can make those any height. So some of our residents who want to sit on their couch can put it on there, put a laptop or an iPad on them. I use them for that all the time. So there are a number of things, and we have the ability just about to do anything. If I don't know what to do, I've got a lot of woodworking friends to call to get help all over the country. So,
well, I certainly love all the ideas and look forward to all the crafts that are going to be created or projects that will be created. I think our viewers would love to see the wood shop and see all the tools that you have in there, things that they can utilize. I know there's some especially unique tools in there that you've kind of brought on in your own.
Let me talk about that a quick section. As part of this is really a joint venture. The floor tools that you see in here, Westminster Village purchased from me. I just thought in an open shop like this, I wanted them to be under the responsibility of somebody else and not me, because people will have keys to come in here to use the facility. But the remaining stuff in 2 rooms, my wife and I have donated. Now, behind me is a closet called a pantry in your normal residence here. Those tools are mine, although I will share them with the residents when I'm down here. And then we're going to go and visit the CNC room, and that is also mine. But we're so let's go around and do stuff. I do a little bit of walking. I'm going to try that for a while. So let's start in here. This is a CNC machine. Over on the lathe And I mentioned the ornamental milling machine in that video. This was the first project I made when we put it together finally in September. The front of this can be used for making joinery. You can see these special joints that we can make for jewelry boxes if we want. We have other ways of doing it. And then on the top here is an XYZ axis. And you saw this in the pictures too. That was for my wife. Now, I'm going to do something I shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Maybe. Well, I guess I'm not going to do it. I had something to show you, which is an upcoming Valentine's Day present.
Uh-oh, well, let's keep that secret.
Okay. Up here, you can see some of the turnings when the shelf isn't locked down yet. That's a small little cutting board. Look at those tools. You make the handles and we buy the metal parts. That's the type of turning we can do.
Amazing.
Over here is inventory that I bought. These are the types of wood that sit across here. And this is what you can make cutting boards out of. We also can buy kits. So it's up to you. We've got some other extraneous wood there. Coming into this room is a stop saw. Both of these rooms have dust control made by Oneida that come on when we turn the machines on to keep the dust level down for breathing and keep stuff off the floor. It's never perfect, so we will have to do a little cleanup. This has a special mechanism. Over here is a thickness planer that allows you to take rough cut lumber in an inch and make it 3/4 of an inch or whatever size you want to make it. It's got a helical head, which has a bunch of little knives in it, so that if you've got a lot of wood that has a lot of character in it, that has cross grain, it'll work better. Over here is a compound miter saw that most people know what they are, but it allows you to make angle cuts. I told some of the gals that were going to help me sand the Lazy Susans, I need sanding, and they're thinking about a hand piece of sand. This is the sander, a drum sander. It will handle up to a 38-inch wide piece of wood. You put 19 inches in, turn it around, and run the other 19. So this is what we'll do. This can make it be like a planer too. This is a router table. It's a Jessen. It's got a lot of safety equipment on it. You do all kinds of things with it, with making joints, cutting out the inside of jewelry boxes. And these are just some of the tools that you use to go with it. In this room, this is the raw material for the new charcuterie boards that we're going to make. It's made out of walnut, and this will be headed up by Ken Horseman, who heads our food services. Different tools and accessories on that side, including the bearings for the Lazy Susans. Down here, we have a small bandsaw, a sander, a lot of jig parts, a lot of screws and nuts and bolts that don't seem like very much until you try to go out and buy them. This is a regular drill press. And then over here is our lathe. Those of you into gardening, we have kits that you buy, the metal pieces. For the 3 pieces, you make the handles. I don't know whether you can see that in there or not, that's the pounds. But we have them also for pens and pencils. Those of you who are religiously inclined, and a lot of us are, I brought these. Those are certified to come from Bethlehem. They're olive oil.
Oh, wow.
So you can make a pen out of that.
Mhm.
Makes nice, and we have all kinds of wood. This is our finishing room. And that's where we'll do most of our finishing. People do ask me, what will we do with the scrap? We don't create scrap in here. We only create creative inventory. So we'll take leftover pieces and make something out of it. So this is basically the shop. This is my new playhouse. I may get scolded for using that type of terminology, but this is what I wanted to do when I retired. I'm glad you joined us this morning, and I hope there's somebody out there who's gonna come join me here on different nights. We can set up a table, get pizza and cokes out of the dining room, watch a webinar together, watch a new tool or a new technique. Those are all big. And then we have help out there today who,
That is the first time I've seen you up on the.
okay.
Good
She's
job.
cleaning
All right.
for us. Do you have any, do our guests with us today have any questions, Rebecca, that we can answer?
So I'm going to go ahead and